Round 1 ends. You lost. As the next round begins, your brain is racing. He sidestepped my jab. He ducked my throw. She punished my hop kick. She backdashed my pressure. He used heat differently. They delayed that string. She whiff punished me. You're trying to remember everything. Then round 2 starts, and before you've processed any of it, you have already been launched. Meanwhile, your opponent seems completely relaxed. He isn't trying to remember 20 things. He's only remembering one. He always presses after my blocked jab. And that one observation changes the entire match, because adaptation isn't about remembering more. It's about remembering what matters. Welcome back to How Winners Think. If you have ever watched a tournament and wondered how professional players seem to adapt so quickly, it probably looks like magic. One round, they are getting opened up. The next round, they are shutting everything down. It feels as if they've downloaded their opponent in just about 60 seconds. But that's not what is happening. They aren't collecting more information than you are. They are just filtering it better. You see, most players try to remember everything that happened. The best players ignore most of it. Today, we are going to talk about why trying to remember too much actually just makes you worse at adaptation, how your brain becomes overloaded during a match, and the simple system elite competitors use to find the information that actually wins rounds. Because adaptation isn't a memory test, it's a filtering problem. Now, imagine trying to have 10 conversations at once. You can't. Not because you're unintelligent, but because your attention has limits. You see, Tekken works the same way. During every round, your brain is processing movement, spacing, frame advantage, heat, health, wall position, throws, low attacks, character specific knowledge, timing, and even your own game plan. Now, imagine trying to remember every single habit your opponent shows as well. It's almost close to impossible. The brain isn't designed to store everything equally. It prioritizes. The problem is that most players never choose what to prioritize. They try to remember everything, and when everything feels important, well, then nothing actually is. This is why so many players finish a match saying he was doing loads of stuff. That's not useful information. That's just you being overwhelmed. Here's something interesting. 2 players can watch the exact same round. One learns nothing. The other immediately adapts. But why is that? Well, it's because information by itself truly has no value. The only useful information does. Imagine your opponent uses 10 different moves. 9 of them happened once. 1 of them happens 5 times. Which matters more? The move repeated 5 times, because repetition then creates prediction, and then prediction then creates punishment. The goal isn't to catalog every decision. It's to identify the decisions your opponent keeps returning to. You see, humans love habits. When pressure rises, we tend to become even more repetitive. That's why experienced players stop asking what happened. Instead, they ask themselves what keeps happening. Those are completely different questions. One of them creates memory, the other creates adaptation. I want to give you a framework that you can actually use today and, quite honestly, even immediately. Alright, forget trying to remember everything. Track only 3 things and nothing more. The first is an offensive habit. How do they usually start pressure? Do they dash? Do they jab? Do they use a running attack? Do they immediately use heat? The second is a defensive habit. What happens after they block? Do they challenge, backdash, sidestep, duck, freeze? The third is a panic habit. What do they do when things go wrong? Do they mash, use rage art, heat burst, throw, back away? Those 3 habits tell you more than 20 random observations ever will, because almost every decision your opponent makes fits somewhere inside those categories. Instead of trying to download an entire player, you are building a simple profile, and simple profiles are much more easier to use under pressure. You see, most people think adaptation means adding information. It's actually about removing it. Imagine writing notes during a lecture. You don't write every word, you write down the important ideas. Tekken works exactly the same way. After every round, ask yourself, which observation actually changed the match, not what happened. If your opponent only sidestepped once, then forget it. If they keep jabbing after every block's move, then keep it. If they always wake up with a kick, keep it. If they use one strange string that never appeared again, delete it. Elite players constantly edit their mental notes. They are not carrying information from round 1 that no longer matters. They are updating the picture. Just like a detective removes suspects as new evidence appears, good adaptation isn't collecting, it's filtering. Pressure changes the way your brain works. As your heart rate elevates, your ability to process large amounts of information decreases. That's why complicated game plans fall apart in ranked. The players who improve fastest don't necessarily know more. They know what to ignore. Simple decisions survive pressure. Complicated decisions don't. If your entire game plan is built around remembering 20 habits, it collapses. If it's built around remembering 3, you will actually use them. That's why elite competitors often look calm, not because they see more, but because they are carrying less. Think about where your attention goes during a match. Most players spend it on things they cannot change, such as the opponent's rank, their character, their combo, their execution, their movement. Those things don't help you adapt. Strong players spend attention differently. They ask themselves, what's repeating? What's changing? What's predictable? You see, attention is limited. Every second spent worrying about something irrelevant is a second you're not observing something useful. Your attention is one of the strongest tools that you have. Treat it like a resource. Spend it carefully. For your next 5 ranked matches, forget about winning. Forget about points. Forget about promotion. Your goal is simple. Write down 3 things after every match. 1 offensive habit, 1 defensive habit, 1 panic habit. Nothing else. Don't write down combos, don't write down frame data, don't write down damage. Just 3 habits. After 5 matches, read your notes. You'll notice something surprising. Different players, different characters, the same human patterns. That's how adaptations begins. Most players think improvement comes from collecting more knowledge, more guides, more frame data, more matchup charts, more notes. Knowledge is valuable, but during a real match, too much knowledge becomes noise. The goal isn't to know everything. The goal is to recognize the few things that matters most. That's what elite players do. They simplify, they filter, they focus. And because of that, they adapt faster than everyone else. Not because they remember more, but because they remember better. If you remember one thing from this video, remember this. Don't remember everything. remember what wins. The next time you lose a round, don't ask yourself, what did my opponent do? Ask yourself, what did they keep doing? Because that's the habit, and habits are where adaptation begins. This has been How Winners Think. Until next time, the player who filters information learns faster than the player who tries to remember everything. Think first.